Coming up in this episode of TruckStop TV.
Steve Parton from Strathalbyn. Just finished my R model after about 9 years.
My name's Gavin Spence. I've come along to the Mack Muster here today. Bought my 1989 Mack Value-Liner.
Arie Vines. I've been driving here for this year 66 years. 1964 B model Mack.
Now let's get into it.
G'day, I'm Steve Parton from Strathalbyn in South Australia. Just finished my R model after about 9 years, giving her a good tidy up. Had her scrolled and lined just last week, ready to finally come over to a Mack Muster. Bought my old mate Billy Pusey, who was an absolute godsend, but halfway through the project started to get a bit overwhelmed with it all, and Billy was travelling through and got me fired up again and gave me a hand to get her finished, and we've been looking forward to coming over here for a long time now, and pleased to finally have her out in the sunshine. So it's 1982 R600 with a E6 352 valve, 10-speed, single chassis rails. That quite appealed to me because I thought it was a nice, economical, practical truck, light truck. I bought it with a aluminium bore car tip-over axle tipper on it, originally in Yass in New South Wales, and drove her home. Yeah, I was going to cart a bit of grain and just give it a tidy up, but one thing led to another, and we went a bit further. Put a bunk on her, didn't have a bunk when I originally got it, and just tried to keep it as close to factory as possible. It was originally a Mayne Nickless truck, and I think it came off the production line in January of 82. She gets along pretty well, does about, or spot on 100 at 1600 revs. The 38,000 pound diffs in her. It's got the full West Coast trim in it, full gauge pack, pearl steering wheel. Last but certainly not least, I should mention Tony Dawson, who's become a good mate, who painted this truck in the shed, fairly dusty environment. We did have a spray booth that we could get the doors and the bonnet in, but all the cab was just painted in a dusty shed with a wet floor. On the way, I sort of wondered how the paint job was going to turn out, and Jack from JP Paints in Adelaide assured me that the paint was exceptional quality. I was just thinking it was expensive, but at the end of the day, the quality of the paint, I really can see that it was worth going the extra mile, and very happy with the paint job and the quality of the paint. The scrolling, that was done by a local bloke in All Signs in Mount Barker. Very nervous. I felt like I was going to a tattoo parlour and didn't know what exactly I wanted, but I sent him 100 photos of trucks that I really liked, and I said to him I wanted to give him his own artistic licence, but I think I ended up controlling the process fairly well, but left it with him for a week, and I come back. I hardly dared look at it, but got out of the car and I was absolutely delighted with it. It just was exactly what I wanted.
My name's Gavin Spence. I'm from Broadford. I do low loader work for a living, drive a truck most days, and I've come along to the Mack Muster here today. Bought my 1989 Mack Value-Liner, which I purchased from a friend, Sean Denny, some years ago. It's a 354 valve Mack engine, 15-speed overdrive Roadranger. It was originally a 12-speed, that's been changed out. We will get to putting that back in one day. It's on Mack 38,000 pound diffs on camelback suspension. Got a Mack sleeper on it, pretty much in this condition when we got it. It's a good running truck. We did a little bit of paint work on the chassis and the hubs and whatnot, and gave it a bit of a tidy up in order to get it up here and get it a little bit more presentable. So this truck was originally sold new to Stepmore's Transport in Ballarat. It was green and white and was rig of the month somewhere in the early 90s. It's had a few career changes. It was a tip truck at one point, then converted back to a prime mover, doing local work around Melbourne for a number of years until it was retired, and then now she just sits in the shed keeping dust off the floor.
Arie Vines, and I live in Broadford in Victoria. I've got 52 old trucks in my yard, mostly American stuff. I've got a couple of odd bod ones, but I've been driving here for this year 66 years. So I've been around a fair while. I own an earth moving business, cartage contractor, still working, and on the 4th of next month I turn 80. 1964 B model Mack, factory built single drive. It's got a 711 cubic inch 211 horsepower 711 in it. This went coming home from Alice Springs in 2015. Broke a crankshaft just out of Cadney Homestead. So we put a fully rebuilt 711 in it with a quad box all hooked up, genuine original Mack stuff. Single drive high speed diff in it. This thing does about 138 kilometres an hour if you put her into the big one. It does 112 thereabouts in direct, so it goes pretty quick. It started its life down at Yarra Glen on a log truck, and it got crashed down there, and a friend of mine bought it up at Grafton and rebuilt it, and he used to tow his dozer around with it. And I bought a fellow called Alan Grassett some years ago. I restored it in 2000, and it's painted in helicopter paint. DuPont said they guaranteed the paint for 20 years, and if you have a look at it today, it's 24 years since it was painted, and it's never been polished, so it's lived up to the expectations of DuPont. So.
TruckStop TV. Remember to like, share and subscribe. We'll see you at the next truck stop.